The message arrived on a Tuesday morning at the United Nations building in New York. Secretary General Hyun-ki was drinking his second cup of coffee when his assistant Sora burst through his office door with a tablet in her hands. "Sir, you need to see this," Sora said, her eyes wide with excitement. "We just received a transmission from space." Hyun-ki nearly choked on his coffee. "From space? What do you mean from space?" Sora placed the tablet on his desk. The screen showed a complex pattern of lights and symbols that slowly transformed into readable text. "The computer says it's some kind of universal translator. The message is an invitation." Hyun-ki read the message 3 times before the words sank in. The Galactic Council was inviting humanity to attend the first Interspecies Peace Summit in what they called the Andromeda sector. The message explained that 12 different alien species would gather to discuss trade, territory, and peaceful coexistence. "This is incredible," Hyun-ki whispered. "First contact with alien life, and they're inviting us to a peace meeting." Sora nodded eagerly. "The message says they've been watching Earth for several years. They think we're ready to join the galactic community." Within hours, emergency meetings filled every conference room in the building. World leaders connected via video calls from every continent. Everyone had the same questions. Was this real? Could they trust these aliens? What did this mean for humanity? After 2 days of heated discussions, the decision was made. Earth would send a diplomatic team to represent all of humanity at this historic summit. Ambassador Hyun-ki was chosen to lead the delegation. He had spent 20 years working in international diplomacy and spoke 6 languages fluently. His calm manner and quick thinking had helped solve conflicts in 3 different continents. Sora would serve as his deputy. She was young but brilliant, with degrees in political science and linguistics. Her job would be to take detailed notes and help with communication. The team also included Colonel Tae-ho, a military advisor with experience in peacekeeping operations. His role was to provide security advice and represent Earth's defense capabilities, if needed. Dr. Yoonji joined as the team's science expert. She had studied biology and psychology for 15 years and spoke fluent English, Korean, and Mandarin. Her job was to help understand alien cultures and biology. Finally, Minho was selected as the communication specialist. He was an expert in computer systems and languages, with experience in both technology and cultural studies. The team had only 1 week to prepare for the journey. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to prepare Earth's newest diplomatic vessel, the Unity. The ship was humanity's pride and joy, built with the latest technology and designed for long-distance space travel. The Unity featured powerful engines that could reach incredible speeds, advanced communication systems, and comfortable living quarters for long missions. To humans, it was simply their best effort at space travel. They had no idea how their technology compared to other species in the galaxy. On the morning of departure, the 5-person team gathered at the launch facility. Hundreds of reporters and government officials came to witness this historic moment. The weight of representing all humanity pressed heavily on their shoulders. "Remember, we're not just diplomats today," Hyun-ki told his team as they boarded the Unity. "We're ambassadors for our entire species. Everything we do will shape how aliens see humanity for generations to come." Sora checked her equipment one final time. She had packed recording devices, translation software, and enough notebooks to document every moment of the summit. "I've studied every piece of information we have about diplomatic protocols," she said. "We'll be ready for anything." Colonel Tae-ho reviewed the ship's defensive systems, though he hoped they wouldn't be needed. "The ship is equipped with standard protection measures," he reported. "Nothing aggressive, just basic shields and emergency procedures." Dr. Yoonji had spent the week reading everything available about alien contact theories. "I've prepared questions about their biology and culture," she explained. "Understanding how they think will help us communicate better." Minho ran final tests on the communication systems. "All equipment is working perfectly," he announced. "We'll be able to stay in contact with Earth throughout the mission." The Unity launched smoothly, its engines creating a bright blue glow as it accelerated away from Earth. The team watched their home planet shrink in the viewing windows, knowing they were about to make history. The journey to the meeting point took 3 days. During the flight, the team continued preparing for every possible scenario. They practiced greeting procedures, studied the limited information about alien species, and rehearsed their presentation about human culture and capabilities. On the 3rd day, their destination appeared on the ship's sensors. The neutral space station was enormous, larger than any structure humanity had ever built. It rotated slowly in space, its surface covered with docking ports for ships of many different designs. "Look at the size of that thing," Minho whispered as they approached. "It must be home to thousands of beings." The station's traffic control system contacted the Unity with landing instructions. The voice was clearly artificial, but it spoke perfect English. "Human vessel Unity, you are cleared for docking at Port 17. Welcome to Harmony Station." As they maneuvered toward their assigned docking port, the team could see other ships attached to the station. Each vessel had a completely different design, suggesting that alien technology had developed along very different paths than human engineering. "This is it," Hyun-Ki said as the Unity connected to the docking port. "We're about to become the first humans to attend an interstellar diplomatic meeting." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Beyond the threshold lay a corridor filled with soft, multicolored lights. The air smelled strange but breathable, with a slight metallic taste that reminded them they were far from home. Sora stepped forward first, her tablet ready to record everything. "Here we go," she said quietly. "Time to make first contact, the Kai." 5 humans walked together into the alien space station, completely unaware that their arrival had already triggered emergency alerts throughout the facility. Their ship's energy signature had registered as a potential weapon in the station's security systems. But the human delegation moved forward with confidence and curiosity, ready to represent their species in humanity's first step toward joining the galactic community. The central assembly hall of Harmony Station was unlike anything the human delegation had ever seen. The circular room stretched upward for several stories, with viewing platforms arranged in rings around a central speaking area. Soft lights, in colors that had no names on Earth, created a peaceful atmosphere. Hyun-Ki led his team into the hall, straightening his formal diplomatic suit. He had chosen to wear Earth's traditional black business attire, thinking it would appear professional and non-threatening. Behind him, Sora carried her tablet and notebook, ready to document this historic moment. 12 different species had already gathered in the hall. The humans stopped and stared in wonder at their first sight of alien life. Some beings looked almost plant-like, with green skin and flowing movements. Others resembled large insects with multiple arms and shimmering wings. A few species appeared to be made of living crystal, reflecting light in beautiful patterns. "Remember to smile and be friendly," Hyun-Ki whispered to his team. "We want to make a good first impression." The human delegation approached the nearest group of aliens. Hyun-Ki extended his hand toward a tall, blue-skinned being with large, dark eyes. "Hello, I'm Ambassador Hyun-Ki from Earth. It's an honor to meet you." The alien being stared at Hyun-Ki's outstretched hand with what appeared to be confusion and fear. Its translator device made soft clicking sounds before producing words in English. "You wish to make physical contact for greeting purposes?" "Yes, it's called a handshake," Hyun-Ki explained, maintaining his friendly smile. "It's how humans show respect and friendship when we meet someone new." The alien slowly extended one of its long, thin arms. Hyun-Ki grasped it gently and shook it twice before releasing it. The alien immediately stepped backward and began communicating rapidly with other members of its species in high-pitched whistles. Sora noticed the reaction and made a note on her tablet. "They seem surprised by physical contact," she whispered to Dr. Yoonji. "Many species might not use touch in their social interactions," Dr. Yoonji replied quietly. "We should be careful not to make them uncomfortable." A floating announcement system activated throughout the hall. "Welcome to the first Galactic Peace Summit. All delegates please gather for the opening ceremony and welcome feast." The humans followed the other species toward a large dining area connected to the main hall. Long tables filled the space, each one designed to accommodate different types of beings. The humans were directed to a table near the center of the room. Minho looked around at the other delegates with curiosity. "This is amazing," he said to Colonel Tejo. "Look at all the different life forms. Evolution took so many different paths throughout the galaxy." Colonel Tejo nodded, but kept his military training in mind. "Stay alert," he advised quietly. "We don't know their customs or intentions yet." Servers began bringing food to each table. The aliens received various types of synthetic nutrients in liquid and solid forms. The colors were bright and artificial, clearly manufactured rather than grown or harvested. When the servers reached the human table, they paused uncertainly. One of them, a small being covered in soft fur, spoke through its translator. "We prepared nutritional supplements based on your species' basic requirements. These will provide all necessary vitamins and minerals." The humans looked at the offered synthetic cubes and colored liquids. Sora picked up one of the cubes and examined it carefully. "Thank you. But do you have any natural food available? Fruits, vegetables, or meat?" The furry server's large eyes widened with shock. "You consume other living organisms directly?" "Well, yes," Colonel Tejo replied matter-of-factly. "Humans are omnivores. We eat plants and animals. That's how we get our nutrition." A wave of horrified whispers spread through the dining area as the translation systems carried this information to other tables. Many aliens stopped eating their synthetic food and stared at the humans with expressions that seemed to mix fear and disgust. Dr. Yunji realized something was wrong. "Perhaps we should explain," she said to the server. "On Earth, all life forms are part of interconnected food webs. Plants get energy from sunlight, herbivores eat plants, and carnivores eat other animals. Humans evolved to eat both plants and meat." The server backed away from the table. "You have biological systems designed to terminate other life forms for consumption?" "It's completely natural," Hyun-Ki said, trying to reassure the frightened alien. "Most species on Earth survive this way. We also grow plants specifically for food and raise animals in farms." This explanation made things worse. Several alien delegates at nearby tables stood up and moved farther away from the humans. Urgent conversations began taking place in dozens of different alien languages. Sora noticed the increasing tension in the room. "Maybe we should change the subject," she suggested quietly. "Good idea," agreed Minho. He turned to a nearby group of crystal-like beings. "We're very interested in learning about your cultures and technologies. How do your species obtain energy?" One of the crystal beings responded through its translator. "We absorb electromagnetic radiation directly from stars and convert it to usable energy within our bodies. We require no consumption of other matter." "That's fascinating," Dr. Yunji said with genuine interest. "Your biology must be completely different from Earth life forms. How do you reproduce? Do you have immune systems to fight diseases?" The crystal being's response caused another wave of shock throughout the dining area. "You speak of biological warfare concepts. Do humans deliberately create diseases to attack other species?" No, Dr. Yunji said quickly, realizing her mistake. "I meant natural diseases. On Earth, all living things have to defend against viruses and bacteria that can make them sick. Our immune systems evolved to protect us." But her explanation only made the situation worse. An insect-like being at the next table turned toward them with obvious alarm. "Your species has experience with biological agents that can terminate life functions?" Colonel Tejo tried to help clarify. "Dr. Yunji is talking about natural processes. Every living thing on Earth has to deal with germs and infections. It's part of how evolution works." The mention of evolution caused even more distress among the alien delegates. A plant-like being near the wall began communicating rapidly with others of its species. The translation system picked up fragments of their conversation about aggressive adaptation and survival-based development. Hyun-Ki looked around the dining area and saw that all the alien species had moved away from the human table. Conversations were taking place in hushed tones, with frequent glances toward the 5 humans. "I think we may have said something wrong," Sora observed, making notes on her tablet about the aliens' reactions. "They seem afraid of us," Minho added quietly. "But we haven't done anything threatening." Dr. Yunji was beginning to understand the problem. I think our normal biology frightens them. They may have evolved differently without predators or diseases. Colonel Tejo kept his voice low as he spoke to his teammates. Whatever the issue is, we need to be more careful about what we say. We don't want to start an interstellar incident on our first day. The welcome feast continued, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The alien delegates maintained careful distances from the humans while engaging in what appeared to be urgent diplomatic discussions among themselves. The humans sat at their table, confused and concerned, completely unaware that they had just convinced every other species in the galaxy that Earth was home to the most terrifying predators in known space. The second day of the Peace Summit began with cultural exchange presentations. Each species was invited to share aspects of their civilization, art, and entertainment with the other delegates. The humans had prepared carefully for this opportunity to show the galaxy what Earth culture had to offer. Minho set up his presentation equipment in the main assembly hall, while other delegates gathered in their designated areas. The atmosphere was still tense from the previous day's dining incident, but Hyun-Ki hoped that sharing human culture would help bridge the gap between species. We should start with something peaceful and beautiful, So-Ra suggested as she helped Minho connect his tablet to the station's display system. Maybe some classical music to set a calm tone. Minho nodded and selected a piece by Beethoven. "This is one of our most famous composers," he announced to the assembled aliens. "This music represents the pinnacle of human artistic achievement." The opening notes of Symphony No. 9 filled the hall through the translation system. The humans smiled proudly as the powerful dramatic music played. To them, it represented triumph, joy, and the beauty of human creativity. The alien delegates listened with growing alarm. The music's intensity, with its building crescendos and dramatic changes, sounded like battle hymns to their ears. Several species began whispering among themselves about aggressive audio patterns and psychological warfare techniques. A tall, thin alien with silver skin approached the human delegation. "This audio transmission contains patterns designed to stimulate emotional responses," it said through its translator. "What is the purpose of this manipulation?" Dr. Yunji looked confused. "It's not manipulation, it's art. Music is supposed to make you feel emotions. That's what makes it beautiful." The silver alien stepped backward. "Your species creates audio weapons that can control emotional states?" No, Hyun-Ki said quickly. "Music is entertainment. We listen to it for pleasure and relaxation." But the damage was already done. The alien delegates were taking notes about human sonic manipulation capabilities and emotional control technology. Minho decided to try a different approach. "Let me show you some of our visual art," he said, switching to a collection of famous paintings. The first image was a Renaissance masterpiece depicting a historical battle scene. The aliens stared at the screen showing armored warriors engaged in combat. A blue-skinned delegate with multiple eyes focused on the painting intently. "This is a training diagram for military tactics," it observed. "Actually, it's a painting about history," So-Ra explained. "The artist was showing an important event from our past. You preserve detailed records of combat techniques in visual form," another alien noted, making urgent entries on its recording device. Minho quickly changed to a different image, showing a peaceful landscape with mountains and trees. "This one is just nature," he said hopefully. But even this caused concern among the delegates. A plant-like being swayed nervously as it studied the image. "This shows the systematic organization of your planet's biological resources," it said. "The arrangement suggests territorial control and resource management." The humans exchanged worried glances. Everything they shared seemed to be interpreted as evidence of military or strategic thinking. "Maybe we should try showing them something more modern," Colonel Tejo suggested. "Something that shows our peaceful intentions." Minho selected a nature documentary about African wildlife. "This will show them how we study and protect other species on our planet," he said optimistically. The documentary began with scenes of lions hunting zebras. The alien delegates watched in horrified silence as the predators chased down their prey. When the lion successfully caught a zebra, several aliens left the assembly hall entirely. "Turn it off," Hyun-ki whispered urgently, but Min-ho was already switching to a different section of the documentary. The new scene showed a pack of wolves working together to hunt elk. The narrator explained how persistence hunting allowed the wolves to wear down their prey over long distances. A crystalline alien near the front row began making high-pitched sounds that the translator interpreted as distress calls. "They demonstrate advanced cooperative hunting strategies," it said to its companions. "Multiple individuals working together to exhaust and terminate targets." Dr. Yoonji tried to explain. "This is just how nature works on Earth. Predators and prey have evolved together over millions of years. It's a balanced ecosystem. Your species studies and documents predatory behavior patterns," observed a floating, gas-like being. "This knowledge could be applied to strategic operations against other species." Sora realized they needed to try something completely different. "What about showing them children playing?" she suggested. "That should be harmless enough." Min-ho found a video of human children playing tag in a schoolyard. The camera showed kids running, chasing each other and working in teams. To the humans, it looked like innocent fun and games. The alien delegates watched with increasing horror. The video showed young humans engaged in what appeared to be complex training exercises involving pursuit, evasion, and tactical coordination. "Your offspring begin combat training at an early age," noted an insect-like delegate with compound eyes. "They practice hunting behaviors and group tactics." "It's just a game," Min-ho protested. "They're having fun." "You disguise military training as recreational activity," the insect replied. "This suggests advanced psychological conditioning methods." Colonel Tae-ho decided to step in. "Perhaps I can explain our educational system," he said, thinking that academic topics might be safer. He began describing how human schools teach mathematics, problem-solving, and critical thinking. "We believe in preparing our children to face challenges and find solutions to difficult problems," he explained. The aliens took notes frantically as Colonel Tae-ho mentioned concepts like strategic planning, resource allocation, and competitive analysis. What sounded like normal education to humans was being interpreted as advanced military academy training. Sora tried to salvage the situation by discussing human philosophy. "Our greatest thinkers have always focused on questions of survival, growth, and progress," she said. "We believe in adapting to overcome obstacles." The alien delegates exchanged alarmed glances. A delegate that resembled a large tree spoke through its translator. "Your philosophical framework is based on conquest and expansion principles." "Not conquest," Hyun-ki said desperately. "We believe in working together to solve problems and make life better for everyone. You seek to optimize resource utilization and eliminate inefficiencies," the tree-like alien interpreted. "This is systematic territorial expansion methodology." Dr. Yoonji made one final attempt to bridge the cultural gap. "Let me explain human cooperation," she said. "Throughout our history, we've learned that we accomplish more when we work together than when we fight. Your species has perfected the art of forming alliances for strategic advantage," concluded a spherical alien that rolled across the floor. "You understand how to coordinate multiple groups toward common objectives." The cultural exchange session ended with the alien delegates retreating to their separate areas for emergency consultations. The humans were left alone in the assembly hall, completely bewildered by the reactions to their presentation. "What just happened?" Min-ho asked, looking at his teammates in confusion. "I think they're afraid of us," Sora replied, reviewing her notes. "But I can't understand why. We were just sharing our culture." Colonel Tae-ho shook his head. "Everything we showed them, they interpreted as military intelligence or strategic planning." Dr. Yoonji was beginning to see the pattern. "They don't understand predator species," she realized. "Their evolution must have been completely different from ours." Hyun-ki looked around the empty hall where the other delegates had been discussing human culture with obvious fear and concern. "We need to figure out how to fix this," he said. "We came here to make friends, not to terrorize the entire galaxy." But across the station, The alien species were already forming unprecedented alliances, united by their shared terror of the newcomers from Earth. The third day of the Peace Summit began with an emergency meeting that the humans were not invited to attend. While the 5 Earth delegates ate breakfast in their quarters, 12 alien species gathered in a secured conference room to discuss what they now called the human problem. Hyun-Ki noticed the change in atmosphere immediately when his team entered the main assembly hall. The alien delegates sat in tight groups, whispering among themselves and casting nervous glances toward the humans. Several species had moved their seating areas farther away from where the humans were assigned to sit. "Something's wrong," Sora observed quietly, taking her usual seat and opening her notebook. "They're all acting differently today." Colonel Taeho surveyed the room with his military training. "They've formed new groupings," he noted. "Species that weren't talking to each other before are now sitting together. That suggests they've found common ground." Dr. Yoon-ji watched the alien body language carefully. "They're exhibiting defensive behaviors. Look at how they're positioned, with their backs to the walls and clear exit routes." The morning session was supposed to focus on military cooperation and peacekeeping strategies. The session moderator, a floating jellyfish-like creature, announced that each delegation would share their species' approach to conflict resolution and defense. Colonel Tae-ho had prepared extensively for this presentation. As Earth's military representative, he wanted to demonstrate humanity's commitment to peace through strength and international cooperation. "Thank you for this opportunity," Colonel Tae-ho began, standing before the assembled delegates. "I'd like to share how humanity approaches military cooperation and peacekeeping." The alien delegates leaned forward with intense interest, recording devices activated throughout the hall. "Throughout human history, we've learned that the best way to prevent war is to be prepared for it," Colonel Tae-ho continued. "We've developed what we call deterrence theory. When potential enemies know you can defend yourself, they're less likely to attack." A wave of alarmed chittering, clicking, and humming sounds filled the hall as the translation systems conveyed this information to the various species. The crystalline delegate from the previous day spoke up. "You maintain permanent military readiness to intimidate potential adversaries." "Not to intimidate," Colonel Tae-ho clarified. "To deter aggression. We believe that showing strength prevents conflicts before they start." This explanation made the situation worse. An insect-like delegate with compound eyes focused all of them on Colonel Tae-ho. "Your species practices psychological warfare through displays of combat capability?" Colonel Tae-ho tried a different approach. "Let me give you an example from our history. After our Second World War, we established international peacekeeping forces. When conflicts arise between nations, neutral military units step in to maintain peace." The alien delegates took frantic notes as Colonel Tae-ho explained concepts like rapid deployment, strategic positioning, and coordinated response protocols. "You have perfected the ability to insert military forces into any conflict zone," observed the tree-like delegate. "This allows you to control the outcome of disputes between other species." "We don't control outcomes," Colonel Tae-ho protested. "We help maintain peace by separating opposing forces and protecting civilians." A spherical alien that rolled across the floor responded through its translator. "You specialize in dividing enemy forces and protecting valuable resources during territorial disputes." Sora tried to help by changing the subject. "Perhaps we could discuss our diplomatic history instead," she suggested. "Humanity has a long tradition of negotiation and compromise." She began explaining how human diplomats had resolved international crises through careful negotiation and mutual understanding. She mentioned economic incentives, cultural exchange programs, and gradual relationship building. The aliens listened with growing horror as Sora described what sounded to them like sophisticated manipulation techniques and long-term strategic planning. "Your species excels at identifying the psychological weaknesses of other groups," interpreted a blue-skinned delegate with large dark eyes. "You use economic dependency and cultural infiltration to achieve your objectives." "That's not what I meant at all," Sora said desperately. "Diplomacy is about finding solutions that benefit everyone involved." Dr. Yoon-ji decided to focus on the scientific aspects of human cooperation. From an evolutionary perspective, humans succeeded because we learned to work together, she explained. Cooperation gave us advantages over individual competition. She described how early humans had survived harsh environments by sharing resources, coordinating hunting efforts, and developing complex social structures. The alien delegates were terrified by this information. A gas-like being that floated near the ceiling pulsed with alarmed colors. Your species survived multiple extinction events through advanced group coordination techniques, it observed. Evolution shaped us to be adaptable, Dr. Yunji continued, not realizing the impact of her words. When faced with challenges, humans find ways to overcome them. We're very good at adapting to new situations. The alien delegates began making urgent communications with members of their own species. The translation systems picked up fragments of panicked conversations about adaptive conquest specialists and environmental domination experts. Minho overheard some of these translated conversations and tried to reassure the delegates. "We're not trying to dominate anyone," he said to the nearest group of aliens. "Humans just want to survive and thrive like any species." His words had the opposite effect. A plant-like delegate swayed nervously as its translator processed Minho's statement. They openly acknowledged their drive for expansion and resource acquisition, it said to its companions. Hyunki realized the situation was spiraling out of control. Every attempt to explain human nature seemed to make the aliens more afraid. He tried one final approach, focusing on human emotions and relationships. "What you need to understand about humans is that we're fundamentally social creatures," he said to the assembly. "We form strong bonds with our families and communities. Love, friendship, and loyalty are the most important things in human culture." The alien delegates processed this information through their own understanding of survival strategies. A silver-skinned being with multiple arms spoke for many of them. "Your species uses emotional manipulation to create unbreakable alliance structures," it concluded. Dr. Yunji was beginning to understand the fundamental problem. "They don't have predators in their evolutionary history," she whispered to her teammates. "They've never had to develop survival strategies like ours." Colonel Tejo nodded grimly. "Everything that helped humans survive and succeed sounds like military strategy to them." Meanwhile, in their private quarters, the alien delegates were holding emergency communications with their home worlds. The conversations were urgent and fearful, filled with requests for military advisors and defensive preparations. The humans sat alone in the assembly hall as the other delegates retreated to their secured areas. They could hear the sounds of intense discussions in dozens of alien languages, but the translation systems had been switched off. "We're losing them," Yunki said quietly, watching the alien delegates through the transparent walls of their meeting rooms. "They're more afraid of us now than when we started." Sora reviewed her notes from the past 3 days. "Every single thing we've shared about human culture has been interpreted as evidence of military sophistication," she observed. Minho checked his communication equipment. "I'm picking up increased transmissions to other star systems," he reported. "It looks like they're contacting their governments." Colonel Tejo watched the defensive formations the aliens had adopted in their meeting spaces. "They're not just afraid of us," he realized. "They're preparing for war." The peace summit that was supposed to welcome humanity into the galactic community had instead convinced every other species that Earth represented the greatest threat they had ever encountered. The 4th day of the peace summit began with an announcement that shocked the human delegation. The Alien Council had prepared a formal treaty proposal that would be presented to Earth's representatives in a special ceremony. Yunki and his team gathered in the main assembly hall, expecting to discuss basic trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. Instead, they found themselves facing the most elaborate diplomatic presentation any of them had ever seen. 12 alien species had arranged themselves in a perfect semicircle around a massive holographic display. Each delegate wore what appeared to be ceremonial garments, and the entire hall was filled with soft, respectful lighting. The floating, jellyfish-like moderator activated the display system. "Honored representatives of Earth," it announced. "The Galactic Council presents this treaty of cooperation and mutual respect." The holographic document that appeared before them was enormous, Sora tried to read through the terms while taking notes, but the sheer scope of the offer left her speechless. "This is incredible," she whispered to Hyun-Ki. "They're offering us leadership positions in the galactic government." Hyun-Ki read through the terms with growing confusion. The treaty offered humanity control over galactic military operations, leadership of the Interspecies Council, vast territorial rights, and tribute payments from every other civilization. "I don't understand," Hyun-Ki said to the assembled delegates. "We came here hoping for basic diplomatic relations and maybe some trade agreements. Why are you offering us so much?" The crystalline delegate that had spoken during previous sessions responded with obvious nervousness. "We believe these terms will ensure peaceful coexistence between our species and yours." Colonel Tae-ho studied the military clauses in the treaty. "You're essentially offering to make humanity the dominant power in the galaxy," he observed. "What do you want in return?" A chorus of alien voices responded through their translators. "We ask only that you consider our civilizations worthy of continued existence," said the tree-like delegate. Dr. Yoonji realized something was very wrong. "You're afraid of us," she said, studying the alien body language and stress indicators. "You think we're going to attack you." The blue-skinned delegate with large eyes confirmed her suspicion. "We hope that by offering voluntary cooperation, we can avoid the fate that befell the species of your home system." "What fate?" Sora asked, completely confused. "Earth has only one intelligent species. We're the only ones who developed technology." This statement caused a wave of terrified reactions throughout the hall. Several aliens began making distress calls to their companions. "You eliminated all competing intelligent life forms on your planet," the insect-like delegate interpreted. "Your species achieved total dominance through systematic conquest." Minho finally understood the scope of the misunderstanding. "They think we destroyed other intelligent species on Earth," he said to his teammates. "They don't realize we evolved." Alone, Hyun-Ki stood up and addressed the entire assembly. "There's been a terrible misunderstanding," he announced. "Humans never fought other intelligent species. We were the only ones on our planet who developed language and technology." The alien delegates exchanged uncertain glances. The silver-skinned being with multiple arms spoke for many of them. "Your planet contained no other species capable of resistance?" "There were no other species like us," Dr. Yoonji explained patiently. "Human intelligence evolved gradually over millions of years. We didn't conquer anyone because there was no one else to conquer." This revelation caused confused discussions among the alien delegates. The spherical alien that rolled across the floor voiced their concern. "If you did not achieve dominance through conquest, how did your species become so strategically advanced?" Colonel Tae-ho realized they needed to explain human evolution from a completely different perspective. "We didn't develop these traits for war," he said. "We developed them for survival." Sora opened her notebook and began drawing simple diagrams. "Let me show you how humans evolved," she said, projecting her drawings onto the display system. She drew pictures of early humans living in small groups, hunting animals for food, and working together to survive harsh weather and dangerous predators. "Our ancestors lived in a world full of large, dangerous animals," she explained. "Humans were small and weak compared to lions, bears, and other predators. We had to be smart and work together just to stay alive." The alien delegates studied the drawings with fascination. The plant-like delegate swayed thoughtfully as it processed this information. "Your strategic capabilities developed as defensive measures against superior physical threats?" "Exactly," Dr. Yoonji said, excited that they were finally understanding. "Everything you've been afraid of, our cooperation, our planning abilities, our persistence, these helped us survive as prey animals." Minho added to the explanation. "Humans had to become very good at reading the intentions of other creatures. We learned to work in groups because individual humans couldn't fight off large predators." The floating gas-like being pulsed with what seemed like curiosity rather than fear. "Your species developed advanced social coordination to compensate for individual physical weaknesses?" "Yes," Hyun-Ki said, relief evident in his voice. "We're not natural predators. We're survivors." Colonel Tae-ho continued the explanation. Our military strategies come from millions of years of being hunted. We learned to think like prey animals trying to avoid being eaten. This perspective shift changed everything. The alien delegates began asking different questions, focused on understanding rather than fearing human capabilities. The crystalline delegate asked about human emotions. Your strong social bonds serve as survival mechanisms? Love and friendship make us stronger together than we could ever be alone, Sora confirmed. Humans take care of each other because that's how our ancestors survived. Dr. Yunji realized she could address their earlier concerns about human biology, our immune systems, and our ability to eat other living things. These developed because Earth is a very dangerous place. We had to be tough just to survive. The tree-like delegate seemed to understand now. Your planet's environment shaped your species through constant survival challenges. Every day was a test, Minho agreed. Humans had to be adaptable, cooperative, and persistent, or we would have gone extinct like many other species on Earth. The mood in the assembly hall gradually changed from fear to curiosity, and even sympathy. The alien species began to see humans not as cosmic predators but as survivors of an unusually harsh evolutionary environment. The insect-like delegate made an observation that surprised everyone. Your species' survival instincts would make you excellent mediators in conflicts between other civilizations. How so? Hyun-Ki asked. You understand both the psychology of being threatened and the necessity of cooperation for survival, the blue-skinned delegate explained. You could help other species resolve disputes peacefully. The jellyfish-like moderator made an announcement that stunned the human delegation. The Galactic Council would like to offer humanity a different role than originally proposed. Rather than dominant leadership, we invite you to serve as neutral mediators for interspecies conflicts. Sora looked at her teammates with amazement. They want us to be peacekeepers? Your survival experience gives you unique insight into conflict resolution, the spherical alien confirmed. You understand how to find solutions that allow all parties to survive and thrive. Colonel Tejo smiled for the first time since the summit began. We'd be honored to help other species work out their differences peacefully. The treaty was quickly rewritten to reflect humanity's new role as galactic mediators and peacekeepers. Instead of tribute and territory, the agreement offered cultural exchange, shared technology, and cooperative exploration of the galaxy. As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Dr. Yunji reflected on the extraordinary turn of events. We came here hoping to make friends, she said to her teammates. Instead, we accidentally became the galaxy's counselors. Hyun-Ki signed the final treaty documents while alien delegates from 12 species watched approvingly. Sometimes the best way to lead is to help others find their own solutions, he observed. The Unity departed from Harmony Station with a completely different mission than anyone had expected. The human delegation returned to Earth carrying news that humanity had been appointed as the galaxy's official peacekeeping force. None of them realized that their reputation as terrifyingly effective negotiators had already spread throughout. The galaxy and alien civilizations across dozens of star systems were preparing to request human mediation for their own conflicts. The peace summit had ended with humanity accidentally becoming the most sought-after diplomatic consultants in known space.